Naptown Tuner here, bringing you another piece of future history for the archives. What we have is, you're looking at a vehicle with a 2.0T TFSI direct injected turbocharged Audi engine. I specialized in these engines because they had a lot of problems. Well, maybe you bought one and you didn't look up how many problems they had, or you didn't figure out if it had any service history before you bought it. That's why you're here, okay? Maybe you're looking at one and you're gonna say, you know what? I don't care, I'm gonna buy one anyway. Or you just want a project car. Here's the deal. What issues are you gonna be stranded on the side of the road with if you don't fix first? We're gonna fix these issues first so you don't need to be stranded. That's just what this video is about. If you want more in-depth detail, I've already got a catalog of a bunch of other videos, and I'll make plenty more, and I'll be moving on to different platforms very soon. First, let's pop the hood and take a closer look. Audis were all belt drive, timing belt, and then they moved into chains. And you know what? I'm not really a fan because the reliability went down. Actually, with the belts, they at least admitted that there was a service interval, and you would change the belt every like 60,000 miles or so, whenever the service interval was. But now they say that this chain is lifetime, and it's absolutely not. So this chain on this engine is gonna stretch. The tensioner is gonna blow apart, and then it's an interference engine. That means if it happens, if the chain blows apart and the tensioner fails or something happens, that means the pistons will smack the valves, and then the engine is a boat anchor until you fix it, until you put a cylinder head on it and a timing kit on it. That's the number one thing that is gonna leave you stranded with this 2.0T. It could happen on startup, it could happen when you're going down the highway, when you punch the gas, it could happen, as long as it has more than 60,000 miles on it, you need to probably change it if it hasn't been changed, or at least check the values. I've got videos on all this. Now the second thing that's gonna leave you stranded on this 2.0T turbocharged Audi engine platform is the water pump. The water pump, first off, whenever you take these covers off, don't just rip them off because they got grommets and things. You take them off gently like this and you give it a little shake. Like this. See? This one's already missing one of the grommets. So now, some yahoo ripped it off. This thing fell somewhere in the past, not me. And now this thing is gonna rattle around because it's missing one. And where are you gonna get it? Where are you gonna get it? I'll hook him up. I'll put one in there for him because this isn't my car. This is one I just got done doing oil consumption on. That's a separate subject. This is just talking about things that will leave you stranded. Trust me, there's more problems than what I'm gonna discuss here. The second thing that's gonna leave you stranded is the water pump. The water pump is belt drive on the side of the engine. It's plastic. It comes apart and it starts leaking fluid. The water pump also has a thermostat built into it and a coolant temp sensor built into it. This guy over here is always honking for someone. Why don't you use your phone? We got phones nowadays. We don't need to honk for people. That's so like 90s. All right. So where was I? The water pump is gonna leak all your coolant out, and yeah, you could keep on driving it if you want, but eventually, if you don't have any coolant antifreeze mixture, you're gonna destroy your engine because it is gonna overheat, and then you're gonna warp your head or something like that. So if you have a low coolant warning light, go ahead and pull over and get it towed. Don't go ahead and take the chance unless you're pretty close to your house or your location or whatever. The third thing that is going to leave you stranded is this charging system. This alternator right here can go bad. It can quit charging your battery. There's a couple different ways it can go bad. It can fail electronically, and it can also wipe out the bearings in the pulley. And there's a little clutch in that front pulley. So it's nice to proactively replace that alternator. Maybe if your car's got over 100,000 miles, go ahead and just replace it. The last thing that's gonna leave you stranded is fuel issues. Now, this one's a little bit subjective, but this high pressure fuel pump can leak fuel into the oil. And if you just have this perpetual check engine light and you never clear it, you might not know that there's a new issue. Maybe it's for the catalytic converter, not up to its perfect efficiency range. Maybe it's for a heated oxygen sensor. Maybe it's something that you don't care about and you didn't fix. And now you have another issue, and that same light isn't going to tell you about the other issue unless you plug in your scan tool every single time you start it and make sure. So it's important to not have this perpetual check engine light. Go ahead and fix everything and keep the check engine light out. Because if this high pressure fuel pump fails back here, it's going to leak gas into the oil, it's going to dilute your oil, and then you're going to start wiping your bearings out. So don't do that. The other thing is, since this is direct injected, high fuel pressure engine, there's a fuel pressure sensor right here. I've experienced that fuel pressure sensor failing without giving any kind of faults or warnings. It just, sometimes you'll have an extended crank, but you can also have an extended crank with the high pressure fuel pump. But this high pressure fuel pump isn't necessarily going to make you stranded, but it's very possible for this high pressure fuel pressure sensor on the fuel rail to give incorrect values and fail, and it might not even give you a fault. It might not even say anything. So that's very rare, but I have experienced it on my own personal vehicle. There's a few different honorable mentions here, and I can't really get into all the nuances of this. Like I said, I'm not going to get too off topic. This is the 4 main things that are going to leave you stranded, but you could also have a dropped cylinder from a spark plug that goes bad, an ignition coil that goes bad. You could have an air leak coming from the rear main seal that blows out, and that's a pretty expensive repair. You could have a PCV, the oil separator on the top of the engine. That's very common for that diaphragm to fail. There's more things I could get into, but that's it for this video. Just short and sweet, stranded video, yeah. I always have to say it because I'm trying to grow the channel. I want to actually make some money on this so I can turn it into my full-time gig. So if you want to help support the channel, please hit the subscribe button.